Here we are just after sunrise, and I am putting this rig to work. This is using the hi-hat and the geared head with the Slypod Pro and the little action camera. We're doing a time lapse through this sculpture. It's here on the sculpture zoo. It's a section of the Cameron Park Zoo in Waco, Texas. So we'll see if I don't interfere with it. I also have this other gimbal that I like to set up and for a compound move, for some panning and tilting, but it's been unreliable the last couple of times. I'm not sure what's up with it. I don't know if it's shot its last time lapse or what. So I'm going to minimize my risk and just do a simple dolly move on a diagonal past this wing of this sculpture. This is taking flight across the river, apparently. So we'll see how that goes. Someone commented on my last video, well, what about extending from here with a stick, with another center column from another tripod, perhaps monopod, and using that as a counterweight support, which might actually work. In this situation it might not, because at a low angle it would encounter the ground. And I neglected to mention that I'm primarily interested in doing time-lapse with this rig, so I wouldn't be operating it. He also said that the geared head was clunky. It's not clunky. If you know the history of motion pictures, you know that the fluid head is a relatively recent invention. So for the first part of the history of motion pictures, cameras were huge. There was no fluid head. If there was a fluid head back in the early days in the 30s or 40s, they would have gotten destroyed because the cameras were just too heavy. There was one director that was telling a story about his camera operator, and there was a move, there was some action going on, and modern day camera operators would say, well, there's nothing to it. The guy was here and then he fell to the ground. He was 4 feet from the camera. All you do is that, right? You do a tilt. Well, with a geared head, you're turning a crank here, you're turning another crank here. And the director complimented his camera operator because he said he had to make this wild cranking move, both hands, to follow the action, and it was smooth. So geared heads are not clunky, especially if you know what you're doing. I've even thought about adding motors to these handles, or taking off the handle, getting a motor in there somehow. Then that could be programmed, maybe with one of these little boxes people are using now. And then that could be set up to do a panning and a tilting move. But that would be at this end, so everything over there would be amplified. So I don't know if a motorized move at the head is a great idea for using with the jib arm. I'm just saying that if there were simply a camera there that we're doing a time lapse, then that could work that way. I do also have this Edelkrone thing I hardly ever use that would probably work the same way. I don't know if it could handle the payload. Payload for this is something like, I want to say it's 22 kilograms, so it can handle quite a bit of payload. Anyhow, this will take maybe an hour to do its thing. It's slowly advancing, and we'll see what we get.